Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is your girl, Professor TK the Chemist, and I am on today to give you all a video about something I just heard about on the social media streets, and that's in reference to Yandy Smith. And for those of you that don't know who she is a star on the Love and Hip Hop show, and but more importantly, I'm looking at her activism. So that's why I want to present this particular video today about her activism in terms of why she's protesting. But I'm going to go behind the scenes of the science behind what happened. She was actually assaulted with pepper spray. So I want to talk about the pepper spray and the science behind it. But I'm also going to talk about what's happening with the protest. So over the weekend, while everybody was out having a good time celebrating this so-called Super Bowl, Yandy Smith was out protesting the atrocities about the inmates at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York. They have been without electricity and heat since January 28th. So that means nearly 1,600 inmates who are housed there went days without heat, hot water, hot meals, or light in their cells during a polar vortex that brought temperatures into the single digits. Now, you also got to keep in mind that the way these prisons are set up, they're basically concrete. Okay, so concrete is basically cold. Okay, it's like it is very cold, and as a result of these inmates being treated this way, it's really going against some of their basic humane rights. So of course the ACLU has been involved along with some of the other activists who are out here protesting what's happening. Okay, now you're probably saying, oh, she's just doing this for social media. No, she's not. She's actually wanting to do this because her husband is incarcerated currently. So it's almost like when you have a loved one, it affects you as well. Okay, and whether her husband is at this particular detention center or not, she is protesting on behalf of the other inmates. Okay, many of us have had family members who are incarcerated, and the only way you know something is happening is when they write home and tell you certain stories that's going on behind those walls. We often don't hear the stories like what she's showing us, and sometimes it takes a platform such as Yandy Smith to bring these stories to the forefront. Everyday people like you and I have a hard time breaking these stories, but with her platform, she's using it for a greater cause. She's using it for a greater cause. So as you can see on her Instagram page, she said, I'm freezing, but they're in there dying. Inmates in Brooklyn are being denied their basic human rights. The lights are shut off. The toilets are shut off. There's no hot water, and blankets have been refused and turned away by Warden Quay. I'm at the Federal Detention Center right here in Brooklyn where temperatures are below freezing. The heat and electricity have been turned off since Monday. So she goes on and talks about what she has witnessed. Okay, so she was out there protesting along with other people, and as a result, she was pepper sprayed. Okay, she was pepper sprayed. Now, I'm going to show you a little clip here of what happened. So as you can see, there was a lot of emotions going on during this time, and you're probably wondering, what's the big deal of getting hit with pepper spray? Well, there's a lot. There's a lot. Pepper spray is no joke. As a runner, I have had pepper spray on me when I'm running because I have come across some crazy people, okay? And pepper spray will paralyze you for a temporary moment. But I'm going to go behind the science of why this is so important for us to kind of talk about because you're probably wondering, why is she screaming? Why is everybody else around her screaming? Why are they using milk? So let's delve a little deeper about this pepper spray. Hold tight. Let me switch screens. So right here, you can see that pepper spray is commonly used by law enforcement. You know, anytime you hear about people being subdued, police officers sometimes use this when they have like an out of control person that they're trying to arrest. So in 2003, there was a North Carolina jurisdictions from the National Institute of Justice showed that the number of police officers injured on duty decreased after the introduction of pepper spray. Now, you're probably saying, well, why don't they use that more often? Well, that's a good question, okay? Because people use pepper spray to, prevent attacks, from animals, and people and things, okay? But as you go a little deeper about the use of pepper spray, let's talk about what it is, okay? What it is. Pepper spray is a very toxic to the body, okay, depending on the type of part of the body that it actually comes in contact with, that paralyzes you depending on the heat factor, okay? They typically use the capsaicin agent. It's like an inflammatory agent that's in hot chili peppers. Okay, so they get the capsaicin out, and that's where you have the highest concentration levels. Okay, so like if you go to, let's say, a bell pepper, for instance, many of us eat bell peppers. You're not going to have your mouth on fire because the bell pepper on this Scottsville heat unit scale is a 0. So you're good. But when you elevate to like a jalapeno pepper, the scores are like 2,500 to 5,000 on that same scale. Now, I don't like hot stuff, peppers like any pepper that's aside from a bell pepper, I'm not going to eat, okay? Because it actually affects my stomach as well. But I know that a lot of people do use it on their food like hot sauce, and although that's a mild flavor, I still can't rock with it. But anyway, the ingredients, that's the main ingredient that's in pepper spray, and as a result it has caused a lot of injuries for a lot of people. Now you're probably saying, well, what are the injuries? Well, if a person comes in contact with pepper spray, they will experience bubbling or a boiling sensation followed by temporary blindness and eye pain. Now, this can last anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. So when you saw her on the ground, like, you know, look like she was crying and getting emotional and upset, that stuff hurts. It can cause burning in the throat, wheezing, dry cough, shortness of breath, gagging, gasping, and the inability to speak or breathe. And if she has asthma, oh, that's even worse. That could close up her throat. And as you can see here, I'm going to highlight this because these are some of the dangerous side effects too. In rare cases, it can cause cyanosis, a bluish discoloration of the skin that indicates a lack of blood flow and oxygen. Apnea and respiratory arrest may also occur. A 1999 study from the North Carolina Medical Journal found that people who breathe in pepper spray could experience acute hypertension or a sudden increase in blood pressure. This increased the risk of stroke or heart attack. So again, when you say, well, what can we do? Well, this is what they were doing. You saw a bottle of milk, okay, that was present. So in order to prevent further burning of the skin and irritation of the skin, to get rid of that oil, you need to neutralize the effect. So you're going to use milk, okay? And you're probably saying, milk? Why milk? Let me tell you why. So the question is, why or what can you use to remedy being pepper sprayed? So first of all, when you're pepper sprayed, you have to be very, very cautious of where it's flowing. Of course, as I told you previously, there are some consequences behind that. But as you can see here, two pictures. One on the left shows this guy. It looks like milk is being sprayed in his eye. But then with Yandy on the right, she has water. So The man in this picture had his eyes washed out with what looks like milk in a Poland Springs bottle, okay, after being pepper sprayed. This was when, they were doing a lot of the protests in Baltimore, Maryland. So the practice of washing out pepper spray or tear gassed eyes with milk or like some anti-acid, like let's say Tums tablets, is oftentimes theorized to be that it's the fats and the proteins that can act as a buffer to lessen the effects of this noxious chemical. But one of these professors at Duke University says that he doesn't think that this is a good thing because it could make the matters worse if you're not using sterile products. But in a time of need, people tend to go for what they think is best for them. So water is something that most people say you should go for. Most experts suggest that when you wash the eyes out with water or saline instead of milk, you got to make sure that you remove your contact lenses, because again, if you have your contact lenses in, that's going to make some of the capsaicin pepper get underneath it, thus doing more damage. Now again, most people don't tend to think take my contact lenses out, okay? Most people just keep them in there, but the pepper spray is not designed to damage the eyes, but more instead, to permanent, kind of like temporarily put the person at bay. Now, people who are pepper sprayed in the face should flush their eyes with a water fountain or by scooping handfuls of water up into the eyes. Of course, you know as well as I do, many people don't tend to think about that. But usually when you're going out to do protests, it's almost like you got to stay ready. And I'm so glad that there were people who were nearby to help Yandy with this water bottle. But I also did see milk, and I showed you milk previously. Again, you should make sure that you wash your face with a gentle, non-oil-based soap and place an ice pack wrapped in a towel over the face to provide some cooling sensations, because your face is going to be burning, and this could last anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes or even longer. So that's one of the issues that I see here. And in terms of the science behind it, that's my perspective on it. And again, as you look at this pic here of the Scottsville chili hot chart, I told you before, like a bell pepper is like at a 0. So you can see why it's not that big of a deal. But as you go up that scale, it gets hotter and hotter and hotter. I know that there are some people who have digestive issues if you're taking things like this. So you have to be very, very careful. Again, this is not something you want to play with. So I'm glad that Yandy was out there protesting and showing her concern for the inmates. And I'm going to end on this note. I'm going to end on the video showing how this all triggered. If you got questions for me, please hit me up in the comments below. I look forward to hearing from you guys and getting your perspective on why they shouldn't use pepper spray for an act of what she was doing. She was just simply wanting to help the inmates because she was concerned that they had been going without food, proper shelter, clothing like blankets, and so forth. All right, peace out, fam.
It's too quiet.
That is unacceptable.
It's a problem.
Now let me ask the question in reverse. If you have not received the blankets, sit bang. You see that? Unacceptable. Unacceptable. They did not get the blankets. Who got the blankets? Wait, who got the blankets? This is what the media has put out there. I posted it on my page. I posted that they received their blankets. Did you receive your blankets or not? Beg if you did not receive them. That is a bold-faced lie. That
All right, don't get like tough, man.